What's good, YouTube? We are back for season 2, episode 7 of P-Valley, entitled Jackson. This break threw me off because I forgot to actually get on here and talk about what I saw and what I interpreted from this past episode. So the episode is called Jackson. And it starts off with Miss Ernestine in the middle of her club, her blues club, singing Aretha Franklin's "I'm Gonna Rap on Your Door, Tap on Your Window Pane." And she's there singing. She's young. Then we see her daughter who's young. Then we see the daughter age a little bit. We see little Clifford with his Gucci purse on his mama's hip. And they go through different decades. And as they're going through the different decades, Miss Ernestine's and everybody else in the scenes, their outfits are changing. And you can tell what decades they're in by the clothing and the hairstyles that you see. In this, we also see that even though it's a blues joint, some way Clifford's mother, her name is Beulah, and of course she's Miss Ernestine's daughter. We see her talk to several men and take money from them. Then I think it was one part where we saw the man take money from her. I'm not sure what that was all about. And shout out to Katori Hall. I wasn't aware she was doing this, but on her Twitter account, she's been putting and giving a lot of background and info about what went into each scene, conversation, outfits, and things of that nature, explaining away why things would look the way that they looked. And I saw that someone put up a side-by-side photo of Loretta Devine, who plays Ernestine, Miss Ernestine. She had a feather boa that was pink, and she was wearing pink. And it was reminiscent of one of her cast photos from when she was Laurel in the original Dreamgirls play, when that first premiered back. And I think Dreamgirls came out in the late 70s, if I'm not mistaken, or the early 80s. But, so her outfit, the feather boa, was a throwback, a nod to her role as Laurel in Dreamgirls. So, Granny wakes up, as the dream is ending, is her standing there in her house coat, her nightgown, her slippers, with the pink feather boa on, looking how she looks in present day. And, the club is empty at this point. We see the theme song come on, and then the show comes on and continues. Now, for the episode, I saw it, but I didn't, put it all together so eloquently the way that Miss Hall put it on her Twitter. So the whole episode was about mothering. Lil Murda was doing a bit of nurturing and mothering for Miss Ernestine, while Clifford was away at the Pink talking to Autumn. He also did a little bit of mothering to Cliff and helping Cliff with Miss Ernestine throughout this episode. Then in turn, Cliff did a little bit of mothering toward Murda and dealing with some stuff that he's dealing with. And we all know what he's dealing with from that last very heavy episode where Teak took himself out. We also see Mercedes talking to Terica. Terica has been at Mercedes' house for a few days, 4 days, I believe. She asked Terica what she's going to do about this pregnancy. Now, I'm not sure if y'all caught it, but I see a lot of talk about it. The different sizes of Terica's belly throughout this episode, because the show is very well written, the show is very well shot. okay? But there were some inconsistencies with this part. And the main one is the stomach. When she showed up to Mercedes' door in the last episode, and they didn't mention this either. To me, I could have sworn I saw her nose bloody. Like somebody had hit her. That's what it looked like. The camera and all that stuff. It looked like Terica's nose was bloody. Also, her stomach was flat when she came in there and showed Mercedes the positive pregnancy test, okay? But in this episode, she's looking in the mirror at herself, and the belly, she got like a little lower belly. Then we get to her Mercedes. Mercedes asked her, did she make a decision on what she wants to do? Terica says she don't know what she want to do yet. She asked for some kind of ice cream with pickles or hot sauce on it or something. And Mercedes says, you definitely pregnant. So she tells her she's going to take her to TCBY. They get in the car. Terica realizes that they passing the TCBY. And she looked at Mercedes and asked her why they were passing the TCBY. And where were they actually going. And Mercedes told her they was going to Jackson. And Terica says the only people go to Jackson for is to get services so that they can get an abortion. But Mercedes trying to implore her to go there just to get checked out, see how far along you are, so you can make an informed decision about what you want to do with yourself. Because Mercedes' whole thing, throughout this whole episode, we see Mercedes just wants Terica to be able to have a choice. And it's so, looking at this and thinking about my own life, and things I've seen in, mother-daughter relationships, just not mine with my mom, but my mom with her mom, and then other people too. And there's a person, I don't have children, so as a person who grew up and had in mind what, if I would have had kids, how I would treat them, based on how I was treated by my own parents, because we, as people, we all do that. People raise their kids based on what they learned from their own parents and the people who played the big difference in their lives, okay? So, Mercedes is really, really trying to make Terica understand that she's not forcing her to do something one way or the other, to have the baby or to have an abortion. She wants Terica to know all her options and make the choice that's best for her, because Patrice didn't give Mercedes any options growing up. When Patrice found out Mercedes was pregnant with Terica, Patrice took Mercedes' choice away and told her she was having this baby. And one, she did it because she's a holy roller. And it's such an oxymoron to be a holy roller, but you also pimp your daughter out, as we're going to talk about, But she didn't believe in abortion. Number two. And it was a source of punishment and a source of control over Mercedes. Punishment meaning that I'm going to make you go through with this whole pregnancy, and I'm not going to let you keep your baby. I'm going to force you to give it to your father, for him and his wife to raise, and not you. And you're going to have to know what it feels like to get pregnant and have to have a baby early and all that kind of stuff. Punish her. So they drive to Jackson, and when they get to the clinic, it's hard. Like, I couldn't imagine being 14, because Terica is 14, I believe. Or 14 or 15. I think she's 14. But, they get to the clinic, and all those people out there shouting and picketing and all that kind of stuff. So I know it's scary, and she's overwhelmed because, again, she's 14. She's still a kid, basically. And as they were driving to the place, when they was in the car and they was talking, and Mercedes brought up the subject of abortion, or Terica brought it up saying, you want me to have an abortion? Or you want me to have a baby? And Mercedes just like, I want you to make the choice for yourself, but I want you to make an informed choice. And so Terica told her, well, so-and-so said they heard from so-and-so, and that so-and-so's mother said that you get cancer from having abortions. When I was looking on, for a fact, I already know that you can't get cancer from having a freaking abortion. But when I was looking at Katori's Twitter page, she had put she had tweeted about, in the southern states, the Planned Parenthood, stuff like that. People were putting out misinformation to discourage women from getting abortions. So they were telling people that you can possibly get cancer from having an abortion and stuff like that. During that car ride, we found out that the boy that Terica's pregnant by, I forgot what she said his name was, but he knows that she's pregnant and he wants her to have the baby. And his cousin got a job at Crystal's, and they were saying that he can get a part-time job because he wants them to be a family and he want to take care of her and the baby. And like Mercedes is trying to get her to understand, y'all are 14, and Terica says, well, he's 15. And she's like, but still, at 15, what job can you really get to sustain yourselves? Y'all two plus a baby? Excuse my hair, I'm in the midst of taking these braids out. But, yeah. So, Terica says something mean to Mercedes by saying, you just want, when Mercedes tell her it's not going to be easy for him to take care of them and stuff like that, and what she knew about love, Terica tears her down one more time. Well, what do you know about love? All you know is how not to love. And she said something, you be with all those ballers and getting money from this person and that person or whatever, and you still don't know what love is. And she said something mean and degrading to Mercedes. And Mercedes popped her. And she deserved it. She deserved that smack in the mouth for what she said. And then she looked at Mercedes out the corner of her eye and says, when I had my daughter, I'm never going to hit my daughter. And Mercedes is like, I said the same thing. Because Mercedes is having moments of, she thinking back to her past. And there was a scene where her and Patrice were sitting in a diner. She was 14. They eating. Patrice makes it seem like she's looking for her purse and said, oh, I don't have no money to pay for us. And she sees this man eyeing Mercedes. And she says, go ahead and do that thing you do. And, to try to get the man to pay for their meals. And she also, in this conversation, is telling Mercedes that they're going to sleep on some male friend of hers couch that night. So they homeless. They don't have nowhere to live. And obviously, Patrice is pimping Mercedes out. And or somebody else, I watched their reviews. His name is James Caldwell, Spiller Boy TV. He said something, and I said, yep, I never looked at it like that. He felt like Patrice was not necessarily wanting Mercedes to sleep with the man. She wanted Mercedes to finesse the man, using her sexual prowess to finesse the man into paying for their meals and not, actually engaging in sex with him. But when Mercedes goes in her wallet, I was like, it's okay, I got money. And when she opened her wallet, Patrice sees a condom and was like, what is that? Mercedes said, it's money. I got it from Cortez. Cortez take good care of me. And she wasn't caring about the money and what Cortez taking care of. She was more concerned at the fact that this bitch got a condom, which means she's out here making a choice to sleep with people on her own. And I took it as she beat Mercedes up real bad in that diner that day. Embarrassed her in front of all those people. Even embarrassed her in front of the man that she was trying to get Mercedes to go and finesse for the money. But I think it was the thing of she was embarrassed because I think she probably had a few dollars in that wallet of hers. But I think it was how the hell she got the audacity to be sleeping with somebody and having them take care of her. And here it is, I don't really have the money in my wallet to take care of her. And another thing is, when most young women start being sexually active, you get a mind of your own and you start thinking you're grown even though you're not. And I felt like she thought that this was a symbol that Mercedes was going to start bucking against her control. And she didn't like that. And she's jealous as well. So she beat Mercedes up in that restaurant and embarrasses her. So we see Terica and Mercedes going to the clinic. And they do an ultrasound. Now, when they did the ultrasound, the baby on that screen looked like a full-term baby. But the lady said Terica was 14 weeks. She didn't have much longer until she had time to decide whether or not she was going to keep the baby or abort the baby. Terica also made sure to ask the lady, can you get cancer from abortions? Because she didn't believe Mercedes when she told her she couldn't. And the lady informed her, no, the only risks that you have with having an abortion is like blood clots and, breakthrough bleeding. And there was a few other things. She said, but those are the same risks that you would face if you decide to carry the baby full term and give birth. And Mercedes also made to mention, they put in there about the black maternal death rates for black women who are having babies, how we are more likely to die during childbirth or very soon after childbirth. And Mercedes brought up, Serena Williams, and I can't think of who else it was, but she definitely brought up Serena Williams and what happened with her with the blood clots, and she felt a certain way, and they was acting like they didn't want to hear what she was saying when she was having her daughter Olympia. So the lady said they got about 24 hours to decide. So they leave the clinic and they talk some more. They go to a hotel. They sitting by the pool, kicking up water. And we see in this scene, Mercedes is wearing red. She got on denim jeans. And she has a red top on. And she has a red mask. I thought that the red was because she was representing for her sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. But when I was looking at Katori's Twitter page, that was about, that red symbolized blood. And she was saying that was the same reason, like, the red that Mercedes had on, Mercedes was wearing red. And also Autumn Night had on a red top when she went to visit Keyshawn. So anyway, let's finish up this storyline. So Terica and Mercedes, they sitting by the pool. She kicking up the water and all that kind of stuff like that. And then some weird looking guy walks by. Now nobody is around the pool but Mercedes and Terica. And then there's another 2 grown women and a bunch of kids. Why this man is right there at the hotel pool looking at them, I don't know. But she cussed the man out and told him, go ahead with them Kelly vibes. She only 14 or whatever. And he goes out of the scene. So they go to the hotel room and they're having a hard conversation. And because Mercedes like, Terica, what are you gonna do? Like, you need to decide. And she's saying, I don't know what I want to do. Or whatever. And again, Mercedes explains to her, I just want you to make your own choice. I didn't get that. Patrice forced me to carry you and give you the Cortez. I didn't have a choice. I'm trying to give you something that I didn't have. And she got mad because she asked Mercedes, did she consider abortion? And Mercedes said, it was a thought. It crossed her mind. But she didn't get to decide what she wanted to do because Patrice had already said what she was going to do and she had better do it or whatever. So something happened. Some words were exchanged that Terica got mad all over again. Oh, I know what it was. Why weren't you there for me? You say you love me, but you just wasn't there. You weren't there for my 7th birthday party at the roller rink. You weren't there when I graduated 8th grade. You just wasn't there for the major milestones in my life. And Mercedes was like, well, I was busy. Like, you don't know all the hell I caught and the things I've been through. Basically trying to get you back. Because like Mercedes been saying, they not going to give a stripper back her baby. Judge was just not. Like, they looked down on you for being a dancer. Even though she, at this point, was doing better. Then Patrice would buy, and at this point, she doing better than Shell. Because the child still got pregnant on Shell's watch. But, Terica said, I didn't want all those things. I just wanted you and you to be there. So she storms off and locks herself in the bathroom. And Mercedes is at the door. And they exchange some words through the door. And Mercedes let her know, like, I love you. But maybe I made some mistakes, but I thought I was doing the right thing by you, by working hard so I can get this gym and prove that I got some, legitimate income coming from a good source where they wouldn't look down on me when I try to win you back and get custody of you again, whatever. So, the next morning they wake up. Mercedes let Terica drive the car and told her she gonna make the decision on which way they gonna go. If they gonna go to Jackson so she can get the abortion, or if they gonna go back to Chucalissa. Terica's driving down this road. We see the sign for Jackson. She turns the blinker on to turn right. And she heads to Jackson and she gets the abortion. I'm guessing. That's what we're left to assume. That she goes to get the abortion. Grandmother Ernestine and Lord Murder and Uncle Clifford. I'm about to say Big Clifford. So, Uncle Clifford is at the club. He meets Haley at the club, and they discuss her wanting to sell the pink. And he's like, the pink, to him, the pink is not for sale. His ancestors died and shed blood in that club. He don't want it to go. She keep trying to tell him, with the money you can get from the sale of the land, you can build a pink somewhere else. Like, you don't have to stay here. So she tells him that they offered her $5 million, but she ain't selling nothing until they say 10 mil or over 10 mil. Because the money that she used to save the pink on the auction block was the money she had lost her daughter for. She tried to get it. She stole that money from Montavious and tried to get away to start a new life for her and her daughter, and the daughter ended up perishing in the mix of that. And so, that was her sacrifice, and she felt like she sacrificed so much to get that money, and then she put it into the club, and she don't want the club to go down in flames after her sacrifice that she had to make to even get that money to save the pink. And so when she tells Uncle Clifford she's not selling for the $5 million, he's looking like, what? She said, I know you think how I got the audacity, but she tried to pull it on thick to Uncle Clifford, talking about, because I'm trying to do this for you and for these girls. And he said, no. Don't piss in my mouth and tell me it's Kool-Aid. You doing this for yourself, Haley, Autumn Jackson, Rihanna Robin Fenty. That's what he called her. He called her all these different names or whatever. And she is. She got her own selfish motives too. But she do kind of come through and help people. So it's like Autumn is a hard person to hate and also a hard person to love. Because on one hand, she's doing all these things to help people out, like how she helped out Mercedes, got her out of jail. She tried to help Keyshawn by giving her the gun and all that stuff, and Keyshawn just ain't using the help or whatever at this point in time. So while Clifford is at the club having a conversation with Autumn, Lord Murder wakes up off the couch at Uncle Clifford's house and goes to check in on Miss Ernestine. Feels her hands are feeling clammy. She's still real hot. He said, I got something for you. I'm gonna feed you. So he went in the kitchen. He made her some food. She was saying she didn't want to eat the food Clifford cooked because Clifford was going to kill her with his cooking, with his chicken and dressing. So I'm guessing it was nasty. It was, tough, hard to chew and swallow and stuff. That's what I'm guessing. But her sense of smell is heightened even more right now. Because when you don't have one sense, other senses are heightened. So she tells Little Murder she could smell the smothered pork chops, the collard greens, the yams, and the cornbread, which he feeds her, and she really likes it. And she said, you can't keep treating her old bitch this good. She gonna get used to you being around. And he said, Miss Ernestine, I'll be here for you or something. And she was like, I'm not the old bitch I'm referring to. So she referring to Clifford. And he asked her, she put a good word in with Cliff for him. Because Uncle Clifford did help him, let him in the house. and didn't ask him any questions. He took the clothes off. Uncle Clifford went out there and burned that Gucci jogging suit that Lord Murder was wearing with that blood on it. Grandma Ernestine also says that she smelled blood all over Lord Murder when he came to the house that night. She smelled blood and she smelled death all on him, all around him. And he just was taken aback and he looked shook. And I'm thinking this is all symbolizing that her being able to smell death, I think she smells and senses her own death coming. Because I didn't even say it, but when she was having that dream at the start of the episode, Beulah, towards the end, Beulah came out dressed in all white and was like, I made you a special drink, Mama. And she said, come on, Mama. And Miss Ernestine told her, not yet. It's not time for me to come with you, Beulah. It's not time yet. I got to go back. And you see Beulah backing up. The fact that Beulah is wearing all white symbolizes her being the angel of death and getting Miss Ernestine to transition. Something I didn't know that I read either on Katori's tweets or somewhere else, but you're not supposed to, when you're dreaming and you're dreaming of somebody who's already dead in your family or a loved one, and they offer you something to eat or drink, you aren't supposed to take either, because that symbolizes that you are actually dying for real in real life when you take that. So Miss Ernestine didn't take it. So anyway, after she eats the food and stuff and her and Murder have this conversation, Cliff comes back home. The house is super quiet. He's up and he doesn't see Murder on the couch. So he's worried. He come busting up in the room. And because he was like, well, Lord Homicide, where you at? I said, he is something else for being shady by calling him Lord Homicide. But he bust up in the room with Murder and Miss Ernestine. And they are all three are talking. And he sees the food that that Murder made for Miss Ernestine. Murder asked him, is he hungry? He said, yeah. So they go back downstairs so he can eat too. And he tell him he can cook. He cook good or whatever. So they having like a little conversation down there, and about Miss Ernestine and stuff. And they really don't talk about what happened that the night that he came to the house. So Cliff looks at Murder, was like, well, it looked like you're gonna be staying another night, so let me go up here and see if I can find something you can fit. So he goes up into his room, and he got this closet with all this crazy clothing. Murder comes up there and like, so this is your lair? And Cliff like, yeah. And Murder said, one day I hope I'll be fortunate. No, yeah, Cliff said yeah. And he said, hasn't been many who was fortunate enough that I invited into this room. And Murder makes a slur about, he hope he get invited in one day. And Cliff was like, aren't you here now? So he looking for stuff. Murder sees a t-shirt and Murder said, you wore this? And Clifford lets him know, like, no, that's from a trade from Christmas past. Trade is some man that Clifford messed with back in the day that presents masculine like Lord Murder does. That you would never know is gay. That's what trade is. And I'm sure because y'all been watching this show for a minute, that most of you know what the word trade means. But, Murder comes across a purse, a Gucci purse. Asks Clifford, what was this? This Gucci purse. And he tells Murder, you know, that was mine. I had it since I was 3. My mama bought it for me. I wore it all the time. And anytime somebody had something to say about me with that purse, my mom took the purse and beat their asses with it. And so Murder left that alone. And then he asks, you know, it's just a juxtaposition of Cliff having the name Uncle Clifford, but wanting to dress the way he dressed. And being accepting of himself and okay with who he is as a person. Whereas Lil Murda is still in the closet, not accepting of himself. He just know he loves Uncle Clifford. So he asks Uncle Clifford, "What are you?" And Uncle Clifford lets him know he is him. He accepts himself for who he is or who she is. She's a light that can't be dimmed, no matter what people have to say when they whisper about her and all those things like that. She said, but it's just real lonely, living this life with this bright light, because people are always trying to dim it when they don't understand it. They don't want you to shine as bright as you do. He asks Lil Murda, "What are you?" And Lil Murda takes a pause and says, "I'm what the world won't let me be," because he don't know how to feel or anything, because honestly, they had this same kind of like conversation on The Chi too, because Trig / Victor on The Chi, he's attracted to this Fatima. I think her name is Fatima, and we all know Fatima's a trans man. A trans woman. Sorry, that was a slip of the tongue. I'm not being mean. She's a trans woman, and Fatima asked Trig, like, "Are you only attracted to trans women? And what are you?" Basically the same thing. And Trig feels like, well, I'm straight because I'm attracted to women. And that includes trans women. And then Fatima asked, well, when was the last time you dated a cisgendered woman? And that's basically, like, we never saw Murda with a woman on here, except for Keyshawn fronting like she was his woman. Being his beard or whatever. So, he says to Murda says to Cliff, "I'm who the world won't let me be." Because he's trying to understand, he's trying to understand him and Cliff's relationship. He's trying to get back in with Cliff. And it can be all confusing because Cliff has been the way that Cliff has been the way that she is since she was a little boy. Flamboyant, living her life out loud, no matter what nobody else says, but also still having a full beard and everything like that, with wigs and nails on, and that can be confusing for Lil Murda. But after this, we get some scenes with some other people, because I'm going to save the other part for the end. So let's get these little small scenes, or these small parts of other people's stories out of the way. Keyshawn and Derek, they're in the store. I'm guessing it's Family Dollar or a little market. And they shopping. He trying to offer her some freaking, what do you call those things? Moon pies. Because my grandmother used to love moon pies. And she not in the mood, because obviously he done whipped her some more. And she looks up. His back is facing the end of the aisle. She's facing the end of the aisle. And she sees Haley standing there looking at her. And she says, "Derek, won't you go ahead, go check out? I need to go and find myself some makeup, to cover," basically. And because she got a mask on, so people can't really see what her face is looking like. But her face is messed up again. He kind of looked like he had a twinge of remorse for a hot second. And he says, okay. He goes to take the kids to check out. She goes and is supposed to be grabbing makeup, and she sees Haley. Haley lets her know, "I figured I'd find you here, so I kept coming here until one day I would run into you. I see you decided not to use that gun I left you." And Keyshawn tells her, "I just couldn't do that. I just can't do it." And Haley tells her there's other ways to get out of of the situation that you're in, being in an abusive relationship. And she pulls Keyshawn's mask down and sees how messed up her face is. And then you hear Derek yelling for Keyshawn, because you can hear the kids start to cry and stuff like that. So she runs off. So later on that same day, we in their house, and we hear a knock at the door. It's Haley at the door. And Derek's like, who are you? And she said, I'm Autumn. I worked with Keyshawn at the club. I used to work with Keyshawn or whatever. So Keyshawn come peep her head around and was like, yeah, it's okay, Derek. She did work with me. So she says, I was out today and I had picked up a little gift for one of the kids, for the baby. And it was like a little small gift bag. And so we see the scene. We don't know where Derek disappears and goes to. But Keyshawn and Haley are in the room talking together. Regal is crying on Keyshawn's shoulder. Haley says, give me a chance with it. And she holds Regal. And in this scene, Haley is wearing, in the market, she just had like an off-white or gray two-piece outfit on, which is the same outfit she had on when she had on pink. She had on pink in the market, a pink jogging suit. And Keyshawn had on some blue printed jogging suit. And you see how small and petite Keyshawn really is as she's walking up to Haley. But anyway, in this scene, Haley's wearing a red shirt. And again, this red shirt is symbolizing blood. That is why Haley and Mercedes, in their scenes where they're mothering, Mercedes mothering Terica. In this scene, Haley is mothering Keyshawn. And she's holding Regal, patting her. And she tells Keyshawn a story about Haley Colton. And she talked about she met somebody. She had what she thought what she wanted was the family that she wasn't ready for or something. And then she met another person that was supposed to be like her knight in shining armor. It turned out he was like a big bad wolf. And she cried. She made a plan to get out. This lady made a plan to get away. But with this plan, she didn't expect to lose her princess, which was her daughter. And the child drowned in her tears. It's like she did it as a fable or a fictional story, but she really was telling what happened between her and Montavious, how she stole the money to get away, but in the midst of it, her daughter drowned or whatever. And she was just like letting her know that, she stayed so long that her tears drowned her baby. Basically, she stayed too long in the mess and lost her child, and she was imploring to Keyshawn to get away or find a way out permanently before you lose one or both of your kids in this. She opens the bag, and inside the bag was a burner phone, and she told her to use that phone when she's ready to discuss how she was going to get out of this situation with Derek. She leaves after that. Somebody in a group that discusses the show mentioned something, and it never crossed my mind. They mentioned that now that Keyshawn, because remember they didn't know each other's real names, but now that Keyshawn knows Autumn's real name is Haley, do y'all think, this person said that they felt Keyshawn, because she's so scared of Derek, and she's still caught up in the cycle of the abuse, that she's going to let the sheriff know that Haley/Autumn knows who Montavious is. Because now, remember, it's a missing persons thing for Montavious, too. So they think that Keyshawn going to rat Haley out. Now, another storyline that we broached in here. At some point, Wody, Murder have all these messages that he missed. All these missed calls from Wody. He talks real quick to Wody. The song where he's Tina Snow's song that Murder is featured on is blowing up. They want to go back out on tour. He missing tour dates, and but they want to get back to the business and get out on tour. Nobody ever came to claim Teek's body, so Wody went on and did what he had to do, involved him, and buried him in like a John Doe type of plot, because nobody came to, for his body. I forgot what he said, what he did with the gun and all that kind of stuff like that too. But Teek has been buried or whatever. And he need Murder to get back on it and get ready to get himself together to, go back on tour, make things happen, make things pop. Excuse me. So we also see when Murder and Clifford are upstairs in the house going through his closet, because Clifford is always, like, we see Cliff go in and out of the closet. And that's symbolism in itself. That Clifford is out loud and proud. Murder is not. As they're going through the clothing and everything, we hear the door open. We don't hear it close. It's like, Grandmama Ernestine, where are you? They run downstairs. Miss Ernestine left the house. Where'd she go? We see them running through these woods. And as they running, they start to find. They see her bonnet. They see her slipper. They see her robe. And they pick all this stuff up. And they caught her just before she was getting in the water. She kept saying, I got to get to the water. And apparently this is symbolism for a person coming to the end of their life and feeling like they need to be baptized. And they need to be cleansed of all things so they could be ready for when it's time to transition. They hold her, they pull her back. And Clifford like, what are you doing? And she said, I gotta get to the water. Beulah calling me. No, before she said Beulah calling me, she said, I gotta get to the water. It's almost time. And she says that if I can't go in the water, then bring the water to me. So Murder takes her bonnet and scoops up some water and put it on her as if he's baptizing her. And she lets Clifford know it's time for her to go with Beulah. Murder asks Cliff, who's Beulah? And Cliff is like, my mama. And Cliff is stuck. Murder feels Miss Ernestine's hands. He said her hands are blue, Cliff. Like, this don't look good. We need to get her back and get her in the ambulance. So they get back home and then get her in the ambulance. Meanwhile, the whole time, the lake the woods that she was in, and the lake that she went to is the same place where Teek off himself in the car that night. It's the same place. When they get home, it's dark by this time, and the EMTs have her on a gurney, and then trying to put her in the back of the ambulance. Cliff don't want to let go. Murder saying, Cliff, you gotta tell her goodbye. And it's deeper than just saying goodbye for the moment, because there were so many people that was telling their parents, their loved ones, goodbye as they put them in the ambulance, and a lot of them people didn't make it back home. They died from COVID in the hospital alone by themselves. And that is hard. And when I really put together what this scene was showing us, I got a pang in my heart, because I'm a big fan. Like, the Scorpion Show, they was one of the first YouTubers that I really started following like that. And his mom, Kevin's mom, Miss Barbara, I remember writing into her for advice about some stuff that was going on in my own life. And she answered me. And I just remember her being on there, being a joy to everybody and feeling like everybody's mama. I remember when Kevin came on camera and told us during the pandemic in 2020 that they had to send Miss Barbara. She wasn't feeling good, doing good, and they had to send her in the ambulance to the hospital. And I remember him saying, how You know, he was the one basically taking care of her at home. And there was so many people in the house that you could not say or pinpoint where exactly the COVID came from when it got to their house, how it got in the house, who brought it in or who gave it to her or whatever. Because he said he had went out once or twice just to get her meds and come straight back in the house. But somewhere, along the way, somebody contracted COVID and passed it throughout the house. Miss Barbara ends up in the hospital with COVID. She fought COVID. I want to say Kevin said she was in there for about, I think he said 46 days? Because I remember him saying that they moved her from ICU to another unit. So she was off the ventilators and all that kind of stuff. He was saying that things had started looking up. And I remember him having issues with the hospital where, calling back and forth, being able to FaceTime Miss Barbara and see her on camera and everything. And that was the life for so many people who had loved ones in ICU. But the fact that a lot of people had loved ones in ICU, and them people had to say goodbye to their loved one via FaceTime camera, that's hard. And I'll never forget, my birthday came. A few days before my birthday, he had said that she was doing better. She got moved to a new unit. And she was coming along. She looked like they were seeing signs of improvement. And the very next day after my birthday, he put up her senior portrait from high school and said, "My mother has gone to be with the Lord." You talk about crying and feeling heartbreak. Like, I think I'm a very sensitive person that is sensitive but tries not to show it. And I'm very empathetic because I cry on things on TV all the time and on commercials. But when I tell you, when I saw that, my heart broke for him and the rest of that family. I was so hurt. I was so hurt for him. I'm hurt just sitting here talking about it and thinking about it. If y'all can't tell, but it felt like everybody was a fan of that show. It felt like she was all of our mamas. Mama Scorpion, Miss Barbara. So, back to P-Valley. When Cliff has to tell Miss Ernestine goodbye, Murray says, "Say goodbye." And then the paramedics tells Cliff, "You gotta say goodbye, sir." And Murder says, "That's a ma'am." Like, refer to her as the pronoun that she like, which is she and her. But the paramedics don't know what Clifford's pronouns are, They just knowing what they seeing. So anyway, they put her in the ambulance and she goes. Then we see Clifford in the shower. And this is where he decides to cry and wail and weep for what I guess what he deems it was his last time seeing his grandmother alive. I feel like they getting us prepped. We started the season with Tydell having died from COVID. And I'm guessing we're going to end the season with grandmother Ernestine dying from COVID. Heavy, 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 heavy. Anyway, Clifford is in the shower. At some point when they was in the closet earlier going through stuff, the clothing, Clifford mentions Cisco from the group Dru Hill, who are from Baltimore. And he tells Lil Murda, "I bet you don't know who that is." Lil Murda said, "I don't know who that is." Then he said, "Of course I know who Cisco is." Because I think Clifford called him Cisco. Because, you know, Lil Murda got that blonde ass hair with that one green stripe or one red stripe he like to wear sometimes. So when Cliff comes out of the shower with his robe on and comes back to the room, Lil Murda is walking out of the closet playing a thong song on a big old Radio Raheem type boombox. He got on some pleather pants with a thong on top, a robe, and a feather boa around his neck. And to me, this symbolizes Lil Murda accepting who he is and him emerging from this closet as this a mishmash of all these different things. With that clothing on, because he's still trying to find his true identity outside of the Lil Murda facade. So he said, I told you I knew who Cisco was or whatever. So he got the song playing. He like, now teach me how to Machiavelli. And I don't even know what that's, I don't know why he called it Machiavelli, because this is called voguing, not Machiavelli. He playing along with Clifford, and Clifford said he don't know that either, that ish either. So Clifford twirls and do how he do when he has a long cape or a robe or something like that on. And next thing you know, they both fall onto the bed next to each other. And they look at each other's face, and they get to kissing. They have this tender moment. They get to kissing. Clifford goes to get a condom. Lil Murda says no. And Cliff says, are you safe? Are you good? Like, you HIV free? Basically. Because he don't know what Murda been doing when he was out on the road. Murda says, I'm good. Trust me. I'm good. And in my mind, I'm like, no, you're not. Because Teak just got out of jail. You don't know what Teak was doing while he was in jail. And you didn't have sex with Teak. And then I thought, but yeah, Teak did put the condom on Murda with his mouth. So he at least did wear a condom, but we still don't know, you know, because who's to say that at some point that night they stopped using the condom, because they could have had more than one session, more than one round in that night, you know. But he tells Cliff that he good, and he don't want Cliff to use a condom because he want to feel Cliff inside him. And at that, I said, whoop, you going to actually bottom for Uncle Clifford. And not to say I'm not saying it like something's wrong with him doing that for Uncle Clifford, because Uncle Clifford is the feminine presenting person in this relationship. I'm saying it as, I'm just shocked that he is willing to be this vulnerable and put himself in this most vulnerable, intimate situation with Uncle Clifford. Because you're being vulnerable by letting somebody enter you. So Uncle Clifford said, you sure? He said he's sure. So they go on with the scene, and Uncle Clifford enters him. And when he said, fill me up, nigga, I said, whoa. I was shook. It is so crazy because my mom called me on the phone later that evening, because of course, I watched the episode at midnight. And the next day, on actual Sunday afternoon, my mom calls me and asks me, did I watch? I said, yeah. She said, oh my God, he let Lil Clifford get his vagina. I mean, not Lil Clifford, Uncle Clifford. Murda let Uncle Clifford get his vagina. I said, I know, Ma, I know. She says, when he told him, I want to feel you in me, she said, I just slid down in the bed and I bust out crying. Because she see Lil Murda as this one thing. She don't see him being verse, basically. Because he chose to be verse in this moment for Uncle Clifford. So they go on and they do what they do. Then we see them laying in the afterglow. And they have a moment, and Cliff turn over and start crying about his grandmother and stuff. And Murda asks him why he let him back in. And he told him, because you needed me and I needed you. And we needed to help each other. So it was like Cliff mothering murder through the stuff, whatever he going through, because Cliff still don't know what happened. And Murder's got ready to start trying to tell him what happened. And he told him, nope, only when you ready. Don't feel like just you caught up in this moment. And it's a bunch of emotions and things to feel in this particular moment. Does not mean you are actually ready to tell me what happened and what brought you to my house with the blood on your clothes and you crying. So their scene goes off. And we get back to Mercedes and Terica back in Mercedes' house. Shell called and was saying that when is Terica coming home at some point, and she said, because she already been over there with you 3 days. And Mercedes said, try 4, Shell. So Shell's still out of it, still drinking. Because she tried to make a dig at Mercedes again. And Mercedes said something about all those wine bottles that she been drinking. Or whatever. So, they in the house and they talking. Patrice Woodbine has something comes on the TV about her. And she preaching fire and brimstone as usual. As she's doing that, Terica looks and said, asked Mercedes, is she going to hell? And Mercedes looked at her and said, well, all I know is if you go to hell, I'm going to be right there next to you. Like, basically letting her know, like, I am your mother. I got your back no matter what. And I really love the scenes and the moments between Mercedes and Terica because they finally came to an understanding. We hear Terica actually refer to Mercedes as mom. At some point when she thought she was going to keep the baby, when she wasn't sure, she said that because my baby can go to her grandmother. And Mercedes was like, didn't I tell you about calling Patrice grandma? She said, I'm talking about you. Her grandma is, my baby's grandmom is you. So, they've gotten to another place in their relationship. Mercedes let Terica know that she knows her favorite color is green. And that's the color that they're going to paint the room. Because she got plans on keeping Terica there with her. And not letting her go back over there with Shell. So we're going to see how all that shakes out. And that was basically this whole episode. I can't believe it took me just as long as the episode actually is to talk to you guys about the episode. And that's because I am, I talked about some other stuff for a few minutes too. So it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoy this. And sorry for how late it is. And I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to get down there and like this video as soon as you click it. Tell me what your thoughts are of the show. Get in the comments and tell me what you thought of all the scenes and the symbolism and all that kind of stuff. Do you follow Katoria on Twitter to get more information about the show? Are you in any groups where they discuss the show and the symbolism and the things that's going on and stuff like that? Y'all let me know. I'll see you in the next video, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel already. Alright? When y'all see me again, I won't be looking like this. I promise. Peace, y'all.